My beloved child, stop everything and listen to me. This is the very moment when I break what seemed unbreakable. You were on the edge of surrender, whispering deep within your soul that perhaps it was never meant to be. But I leaned into that place of quiet despair and interrupted the verdict that was forming against you. I canceled it in the courts of heaven before it could ever reach your door. The enemy mistook your silence for weakness, but I knew it was your final cry before collapse. That is where I moved, at the edge of your ending. You thought everything was closing, yet I opened a window unseen by anyone else. Even what you buried beneath despair is rising again right now. I watched the weight you carried through nights when you could not voice your pain, behind walls that seemed to tighten every time you tried to breathe. I did not turn away. I did not wait for perfection. I intervened when your knees buckled under hopelessness. This is your turning point, and it did not arrive with fanfare or lightning. It came in silence when you were about to give up. Now I write the outcome. The doors you saw shut are not final, for I hold the key of David, and when I open, no one can close. I saw humility in your spirit, the defeated whispers in your thoughts, but I also saw the tiny mustard seed of faith buried beneath the rubble, and that is what I honored. You did not realize it, but at the very moment you nearly surrendered to darkness, heaven moved in your favor with unstoppable force. You were about to bow to the impossible, but instead I command sorrow to bow before you. Do not move. I'm not simply doing something for you. I am overturning the very decree that declared it could not be done. What I initiate now will send shockwaves through everything that tried to stand in your way. And this is only the beginning. Do not let your heart question why the answer did not come when you asked. Do not misjudge the timing or assume I delayed because of silence or distance. I withheld the lesser to protect the arrival of something far beyond your understanding. The door you waited at was never locked. It was being rebuilt to carry what I am about to bring through it. Had I opened it when you asked, you would have stepped into something premature, unstable, and harmful. You do not need another cycle of temporary relief. You need a breakthrough that cannot be shaken. For that, I've been building what eyes have not seen and ears have not heard. I worked behind the scenes not only for your answer, but for your renewal. You thought silence meant rejection, but in truth, it was fierce protection against a counterfeit that looked like me, but was not sent by me. I know the timeline you thought you needed. I saw you watching others receive, and I know how hard it was not to ask. Why did you pass me by? I did not pass you by. I stopped everything to arrange divine multiplication instead of mere survival. If I had answered earlier, you would have settled for what satisfied the moment. But I am the God of fullness, not fragments. You were never overlooked. You were overtaken by something greater than you could see. And now, because you did not give up, because you did not bow to bitterness, I am opening a door so wide it will silence every voice that said you were too late. What is coming is not just timely, it is perfect. The weight you despised will become the womb that births glory. This kind of opening cannot be undone, for it carries the fingerprints of heaven. You are about to step into territory no one believed you could possess. And we are not finished yet. The strength of your pain and your quiet agony was never wasted. There were nights when you covered your face with your hands, hoping no one would hear the tremble in your breath, thinking your tears were too small to matter. But I was closer than your breath, counting every drop that fell from your eyes. You did not know it then, but your pain became a decree before my throne. While others passed by your weary posture, while they turned away when your voice shook or your spirit shrank in the shadows, I leaned in. I saw the moments when you did not even pray aloud because you were too exhausted to speak. You only sighed. But to me, that sigh thundered louder than the praise of 10,000 voices. You did not need to shout to capture my attention. Your suffering already had it. The sound of your soul breaking was the signal that moved heaven into action. I was not waiting for eloquence or ritual. I was moved by your honesty, your rawness, your surrender, even when you did not know you were surrendering. In your silence, I discerned every unanswered question, every injustice you swallowed, every disappointment you hid behind a strained smile. Others thought you were fine, but I knew you were slowly collapsing. I intervened, not with spectacle, but with precision. I began shifting realities, aligning events, and redirecting outcomes while you wept quietly in places no one ever asked about. When they ignored you, I stood beside you. When they overlooked your struggle, I strengthened your foundation. What you called loneliness, I used as a meeting place. What looked like isolation became a sacred altar where I laid the first stones of your redemption. I did not need a crowd to see you. I did not need a pause to act on your behalf. All I needed was your heart, tender, wounded, yet still open. And that was enough to release what no one else could deliver. Even now, as you catch your breath after the last storm, I am preparing a declaration that will lift you beyond what human effort could ever achieve. You did not collapse in vain. You did not break without purpose. I gathered every whisper of pain and poured oil into the very cracks the world called weakness. Your broken places are now saturated with my anointing, and soon those very places you try to hide will become altars of glory. You did not need a scream to be heard. I heard you the moment your heart trembled, and I am still listening. Hold on. This is only the beginning. Divine intervention and unseen movements are already at work. I saw the weight you carried, unnoticed by those around you. They saw your daily life, but not the war within your soul. They looked at your face, but not the flood behind your eyes. What they could not discern, heaven documented with precision. Your silent agony became the catalyst for a movement no human hands could form. Earth had no answer for your pain, no resource for your emptiness. But I am not bound by what is visible. The natural world ran out of options, but the supernatural never runs out of power. While others offered sympathy, I began forming solutions beyond human systems. You thought you were crying alone, but every tear was gathered by angels and placed before me as a petition signed with desperation and faith. And I answered, not with delay, not with hesitation, but with deliverance that transcends time and logic. What I am doing for you now does not require permission from people, paperwork from systems, or validation from voices that doubted you. When heaven answers, it corrects everything. Soon you will see that this is not compensation for your suffering. It is transformation born from it. This is the fulfillment of something far greater than the pain you ever hinted at. I have released provision you never asked for, grace you never thought to request, and answers you stopped believing in. Your tears reached places your words could never penetrate. Your sorrow activated a shift in realms no earthly hand could touch. I did not respond to performance. I respond to surrendered pain. And your surrender caused heaven to open for you. This is not about a journey. This is about transformation. You're not simply being rescued. You are being redefined. You will no longer be identified by the trial, but by the testimony it produces. The earth tried to limit you, tried to label your potential, tried to tell you what you would never have. But the one who created the earth has intervened with a redefinition. I am rewriting the verdict over your life. I am speaking into the places where human help has run dry. This release will not resemble anything you have seen before because it comes directly from me. You thought your tears were signs of failure, but they were signals of breakthrough. You may not have felt me in the collapse, but I was orchestrating favor in response to every hidden pain. The weight you carried is about to be consumed by the magnitude of what I've sent, and I am not finished. This is only the prelude. The miracle is already in motion. Pause for a moment and take in what is unfolding. This is not simply a moment of help. It is a demonstration of who I truly am. You have heard of my power. You have read of my miracles. But now I am placing you directly into the evidence. What is rising before you is not accidental. It is the precise fulfillment of what once seemed unthinkable, arriving in a way that cannot be explained by effort, logic, or chance. I am proving myself through your situation, not because you demanded proof, but because I chose to reveal my strength through your impossibility. There are forces, timelines, and patterns that whisper to you, it's impossible. It's gone too far. It cannot be fixed. But I step into this very story to shatter every lie it has spoken. Now is not the time to retreat in fear or suspicion. I command your spirit to rise and recognize that you are standing in the middle of a miracle in motion. The clock you thought had run out is now under my control. I stretch time, reverse effects, destroy delays, and advance what should have taken years into mere moments. Not because you earned it, not because everything aligned, but because I chose to use your life to show that the one who created time itself has no limits. Every impossibility you faced, whether physical, emotional, financial, or spiritual, is now under my authority. I do not negotiate with the impossible. I dismantle it. You wondered if you asked for too much, if your expectations were unrealistic. I tell you now, you did not dream too big. You limited me by what you settled for. I am not bound by the size of your request. I answer according to the size of my purpose. And my purpose in your life will not be silenced by statistics, reports, or deadlines. You may be weary. You may have adjusted your prayers to what seemed more achievable. But I am reigniting something far greater than what you asked for. This is the hour when I leave no doubt that I am still the God who parts seas, multiplies what is insufficient, and raises what was declared lifeless. Look at me now. Everything that seemed immovable trembles under my hand. Everything that resisted now collapses. Not eventually, but suddenly, unexpectedly, and powerfully, because this is not human work, it is the movement of God. And I will not stop until you fully step into what they said could never be done. The impossible bows, and I'm still moving forward. Divine protection and redirected paths are at work. You were confused when doors you thought were meant for you remained sealed, when opportunities you labored for seemed to vanish just as you reached for them. But I was not punishing you. I was preserving something far greater. What looked like loss was actually a rescue mission. I did not allow those paths to open because their timing and content would have interfered with what I was arranging behind the veil. Some connections you longed for were laced with distractions that would have drained you instead of elevating you. Some plans you invested in would have trapped you in cycles that delayed your destiny instead of fulfilling it. I saw further than you could, deeper than you realized. I intervened with a firm hand, not to break your spirit, but to protect your promise. What you now see as disappointment will soon be revealed as divine strategy. If I had granted everything you prayed for, you would have ended up far from the fulfillment I designed for you. The road you mourned was never aligned. The timing you grieved was never written in heaven's calendar. I did not block you to limit you. I redirected you. You were never off course. You were being guided toward something time-sensitive, weighty in impact, and prepared specifically for your voice, your gifts, and your calling. Had you continued down those paths, your progress would have been interrupted by unnecessary battles and invisible walls. I was not delaying you. I was accelerating you without your awareness, cutting off routes that looked productive but hid traps beneath their surface. I allowed certain relationships to collapse, not because they were all bad, but because they could not go where I am leading you. I allowed certain ideas to fail, because their foundation could not bear the weight of what is coming. I disrupted your comfort so your faith could rise. I altered the landscape so you would no longer depend on what was familiar. I was not trying to confuse you. I was clearing the way. Every place you felt cut off was never meant to be your dwelling. You are not missing out. You are being preserved for the moment when everything aligns without delay, without interference, without detours that once drained your strength. I'm not holding you back. I am positioning you. This is the season when blocked paths give way to prepared places, and every stop sign you wept over will prove to be the very reason you are right on time. Do not mourn what did not move. I had to stop it to release what is finally ready to begin. And I'm still unfolding the next step as we move forward. The truth is, behind closed doors, there were moments when you stood before opportunities wide-eyed, thinking this is it, only to watch them shut without explanation. It felt like rejection, as though your worth was unseen, as though everything you offered was invisible to those you hoped would notice. But you did not perceive the danger hidden beneath those openings. While you interpreted it as dismissal, I acted with determination to protect you from harm disguised as opportunity. Every no that echoed in your ears was divine intervention in disguise, redirection masked as rejection. I saw intentions you could not see. I knew consequences that had not yet unfolded. I understood how that step, if taken, would have entangled you in traps disguised as blessings. You believed you were being ignored. But the truth is, I stood between you and situations that would have drained your purpose, distorted your vision, and delayed your calling. I saw the conversations behind closed doors, the unspoken motives, the alliances that were not pure, and I intervened silently. You called it heartbreak. I called it mercy. I allowed certain relationships to leave your life because their closeness would have caused spiritual corrosion. I removed specific people from your inner circle not because they were entirely evil, but because their access would have sabotaged the harvest I was preparing for you. Some platforms were taken away not to diminish you, but to prevent the misuse of your anointing in places where it was never meant to dwell. You were on the verge of falling into traps disguised as applause, invitations soaked in compromise, and paths that would have given you exposure but stolen your peace. That is why I acted, not always with explanations, but always with precision. You wrestled with your worth after rejection, but you did not realize that the closed door was a wall I built to block the enemy's entry. You doubted my silence, but I was speaking loudly through my actions. I am protecting you in ways you did not recognize at the time. I was not withholding access. I was laying the foundation you would need for what comes next. When the smoke clears, you will see it. You will look back at the places where you were not welcomed and realize they were never safe. You will thank me not for what I gave, but for what I did not allow. For had you walked through that door, you would have been celebrated publicly but drained secretly. Now you are set apart, not to isolate you, but to preserve what is sacred within you. I know exactly what I am doing, and soon what looked like rejection will prove to be your protection. This is not punishment, it is preservation. I am still building forward at the pace I have chosen for you. Do not compare your timing to the rhythm of others, for I do not operate according to what they call normal. You measured your progress by what you saw in others, their milestones, their displays, the years you thought were lost. But I need you to understand something holy. My timing is immediate, strategic, and perfect. What looks like delay is often disguised preparation. Where you feel late, I declare you are in the perfect position. I do not need decades to accomplish what I can do in days. I do not rely on the speed of the world. I command supernatural acceleration that collapses years into moments. Right now, I am turning long roads into sudden arrivals. I'm not only moving you forward, I am restoring what was stolen, what was missed, and what was withheld. You will not be able to explain, how everything begins to align. It will defy the systems you once thought unshakable. While they said you were too far behind, I was writing the very script where you step ahead effortlessly. I am releasing alignment in places where chaos has been rooted for years. What once followed will now lead. What once demanded your energy to build will now rise easily under my hand. Stop looking at the ticking clock as your enemy. It is no longer your overseer. I own time. I stretch it, accelerate it, and synchronize it with your promise. There are people who laugh behind your back, thinking you missed your moment. But they will witness how I accelerate your harvest in a way that leaves no doubt it was divine. I am arranging divine intersections, unexpected encounters, sudden opportunities, and unexplainable favor, because I no longer wait for permission to move on your behalf. The meetings I appoint for you are not ones you must chase. They will arrive with undeniable clarity, and you will know they are for me because nothing will feel forced. You will not need to beg, fight, or manipulate to keep what I place in your life. You will enter rooms you never applied for. You will be chosen for roles you did not know existed. You will receive confirmations that bypass every delay. This acceleration is not based on your performance. It is a demonstration of my sovereignty. I do this because I said I would, not because the world says it is your turn, but because heaven has declared it is time. You are not late. You are not overlooked. You are not behind. You are exactly where I need you to be. And now I release what no calendar could predict. Keep moving forward, because even now, behind the veil, everything is accelerating. This is the season when time bows to purpose, and you will see with your own eyes what acceleration by my spirit truly looks like. The impossible is not coming, it is happening, and we are only beginning. Behind closed doors, whispers were spoken, assumptions made, conclusions drawn from your quiet seasons. Many decided you had reached your ceiling. They saw stagnation in your stillness, failure in your suffering, and the end of your story in your absence from the spotlight. But they did not know that while they erased your name from lists of importance, I was inscribing it on the pages of redemption. You were not forgotten. You were being prepared. While they measured your worth by what they could see, I was forming something invisible, something beyond comprehension, something only I could authorize. This is not a return. It is a divine unveiling. I did not raise you to fit their predictions. I raised you to interrupt them. Those who thought you would disappear in silence will now witness your elevation, not as coincidence, but as the signature of my hand upon your life. I silenced their voices because I never needed their approval to establish my plans for you. You do not need to defend yourself. You do not need to prove your worth. The miracle I perform through you will speak louder than any doubt ever spoken against you. They will watch, and it will humble their assumptions. They will see, and it will shake their confidence. Because this is not just about your rise, it is about my revelation. I am revealing my power through your story in a way that cannot be mistaken for chance, luck, or skill. I will place you where those who underestimated you will be forced to acknowledge that something greater is at work. And it will not be to shame them, but to awaken them. Your breakthrough will testify that I lift whom I choose, when I choose, and how I choose. It does not matter who left, what labels were placed, or how many seasons seemed silent. I did not forget you when they did. I did not leave when others stopped checking. I held you in a hidden place, shaping your resilience, securing your trust, strengthening what they overlooked. I was preparing the stage not for revenge, but for revelation. And now I place you in view, not for performance, but for purpose. You are not returning to where they left you. You're stepping into something entirely new, something their expectations could never contain. I raise people not to prove others wrong, but to prove that I am faithful intentional, and unstoppable. When I declare someone chosen, they become chosen. And a miracle I hid in your life is about to be revealed openly. Every voice that turned away will now see you crowned with grace they thought had bypassed you. This is the moment when my promise overrides every false prediction. I have inscribed your name into a testimony that will be spoken, not for your glory, but for mine. And what comes next will silence every doubt with undeniable truth. I never stopped writing your story, and we are still moving forward. A breakthrough is coming to find you. A shift is unfolding that you did not orchestrate, but that is swiftly moving in your direction. For too long, you were taught to believe that breakthrough only comes through relentless striving, exhausting every ounce of energy and repeatedly proving yourself to systems that never truly saw you. But now you will learn that breakthrough comes by my spirit, and it is already on its way. You have spent seasons chasing answers, seeking healing, stability, and recognition, only to feel that every step forward met a door that never fully opened. But I'm turning that pattern upside down. What is being released now is not something you'll have to chase. It is what I have already sent, already set in motion, following the trail of obedience you laid in hidden places. This is not a pursuit that exhausts you. It is a release that finds you exactly where I have placed you. You're not being asked to carve your own path into my provision. You are being positioned to receive what was set aside for you long before the striving began. I have watched you labor in silence, give when you were empty, love when you were broken, and serve when you were unseen. All the while, I commanded blessings to gather behind you like waves preparing to crash upon the shore. They have been building, gaining strength, not in response to human noise, but to the fragrance of your surrender. You thought waiting meant I had forgotten, but waiting was the time I used to mature what needed to arrive fully ripened. I do not deal in half-answered prayers. I release what is complete, undeniable in clarity, and unquestionable in origin. You will not have to knock endlessly. You will not have to wonder if the moment has come. What is approaching carries a signature only heaven could write. It will enter the front door of your life effortlessly, without striving, without fear of loss. Roles are shifting not because you shouted loudly enough, but because I decreed it in silence. This blessing is active, alive, moving. It does not wait for you to find it. It is already on its way, tracking your path through divine alignment. You may feel weary from the chase, but the chase is over. Rest now in the knowledge that what pursues you is not hardship, it is glory. What approaches is not defeat, it is fulfillment. I have released promises that were held back for this exact moment, and they are arriving faster than you expect. Favor is about to intersect your ordinary days with extraordinary precision. You will not need to convince anyone. You will not need to defend the blessing. It will speak for itself. Let this be your new posture, not despair, but expectation. You are not forgotten in the crowd. You are the destination of divine outpouring. Everything I have declared to you will arrive on time, with strength, provision, and a peace no effort could purchase. Stay where I have planted you. What I spoke is already in motion, and what now pursues you is far greater than anything you ever thought you had to chase. The strength of the quiet season. You looked at your life and wondered why everything seemed delayed, why progress felt slow while others appeared to race ahead with ease. You asked yourself if you missed your moment, misunderstood a sign, or misheard my voice. But what you perceived as stagnation was my intentional slowing, because what I am building in you must not be rushed. Temporary things can be assembled quickly, but what is meant to last must be formed with care. I did not ignore your desire for speed. I was creating something strong enough to hold what I am about to pour into your life. I was not just preparing the promise. I was preparing you to carry it. If I had allowed acceleration without stability, the weight of what is coming would have crushed you. So I'll let some things unfold more slowly, not to frustrate you, but to fortify you. Waiting was the workshop where your endurance was shaped, your discernment sharpened, and your faith stretched beyond comfort. Though it seemed nothing was happening, I was working beneath the surface, strengthening your roots so the winds of change would not uproot your destiny. I'm not interested in moments that look impressive but fade quickly. I am creating movements that withstand storms. The foundation I laid during your quiet seasons is one no attack can destroy. I removed instability from your thinking, pulled out lies that told you faster, louder, stronger was more valuable. I redefined how you measure success because what I am doing in you does not need applause to be validated. It requires depth, and depth requires time. That is why you were hidden for season. That is why your efforts seemed fruitless. I was not punishing you. I was building something from within, a life that will not collapse under pressure, a calling that will not bend under criticism, a peace that will not be shaken by shifting seasons. I tethered you to my voice more than to others, because what is coming will place you where many voices will try to influence your steps. I need you to know mine so clearly that you never confuse another echo with my direction. Every closed door, every canceled plan, every prolonged season of waiting was not a sign I forgot you. It was evidence of divine architecture. I was building something eternal, something that will bless generations after you. Protected by silence, while you try to keep peace, to remain quiet, to stay kind, even when falsely accused or misrepresented, I noticed every voice that rose against you in secret. You did not know how much was spoken behind your back, how much was whispered to damage your reputation, how often your name was mishandled in places where you could not defend yourself. But I heard it all, and I moved, not with revenge, not with retaliation, but with justice. I silenced their words before they reached their target. I intercepted their intentions, dismantled their influence, and confused their strategies. What they spoke in shadows never reached the ears of those who mattered, because I closed the mouths that carried poison. You wanted to explain yourself, to clear your name, to speak your truth, but I told you to remain still. Not because I did not care, but because I was handling on a level far beyond theirs. While I shut their mouths, I began opening gates, paths they tried to block, opportunities they claimed you did not deserve, favor they insisted you would never find. I opened them with such divine precision that no manipulation could close them again. They thought their words could cancel what I ordained, but their curses carried no weight against my will. I turned their declarations to dust and transformed their curses into confirmations. For every word spoken against you, I released a blessing to overshadow it. For every attempt to stop your rise, I accelerated your momentum. You do not even know how many rooms your name was raised, not to honor, but to diminish. Yet I use it all as fuel. I use their words as soil, their mockery as fertilizer, their doubt as fire for what I was building. That is why it did not touch you. That is why it did not break you. That is why, even when they expected your fall, you kept standing. Because I was not only protecting you, I was revealing you. I let their words die in their mouths, and I let my purpose speak through your life. They thought the doors they tried to close would remain shut, but I hold keys they know nothing about. I do not need their permission to place you where you belong. I do not need their approval to bless you. What I open, no one can seal. What I silence, no one can revive. Do not fear what they may say next. Their words carry no power here. You are surrounded by my hand, protected by my authority, and secured in my promise. The gates they guarded with pride now swing wide under the weight of my decree. Those who try to block your path will be the first to witness you walking through, anointed, unshaken, and unmovable. For I am the one who defends you when you are silent, and I am not finished acting on your behalf. This is still unfolding. Stay steadfast, for the story is not yet complete. The blessing is already in motion, and nothing can stop what I have ordained.